The stars looked peaceful from the observation deck of Galactic Confederation Station Delta 9. Zora, a blue-skinned alien with 4 arms, stared at the distant sun of Epsilon Tauri. Her large eyes blinked slowly as she watched the mining colony's distress signal replay on the main screen. "Play it again," she ordered, her voice low and worried. The computer beeped once. A scratchy voice filled the room. "This is Mining Colony Epsilon Tauri 7. We are experiencing major ground shaking. Our buildings are falling. We need help now. Please send ships." The message ended with static. Zora turned to face the station commander, an old alien named Krill. His gray skin wrinkled as he frowned. "We have sent the relief ships," Krill said. "They will arrive in 15 days. Zora shook her head. "That may be too late. The seismic readings are getting worse. The whole planet might break apart before then." Krill spread his 6 fingers wide in the universal gesture of acceptance. "It is all we can do. No ships can travel faster." Neither of them noticed the tiny blip on the long-range scanner. The signal, bouncing between stars, had traveled far beyond the borders of Confederation space, far beyond where it was ever meant to go. On the edge of known space, 3 weeks later, Captain Eliza Washington drank her morning coffee on the bridge of the Northern Star. The ship was not fancy. Pipes showed along the walls. Seats were patched with tape, but Eliza loved it anyway. It was home. "Captain," called Sam Burton from the communication station. His eyes were wide with surprise. "We're picking up a signal. It's not from Earth or any of our colonies." Eliza nearly spilled her coffee. "What? That's impossible. Play it." The desperate voice filled the bridge. Everyone stopped working to listen. "This is Mining Colony Epsilon Tauri 7. We are experiencing major ground shaking. Our buildings are falling. We need help now. Please send ships." Silence fell when the message ended. Eliza looked around at her crew. 8 humans, all wearing the simple blue uniforms of Earth's space fleet. "Can we tell where it came from?" she asked. Sam nodded. "Yes, it's from a star system about 14 light-years away." "But Captain, that means the message took 14 years to reach us." Eliza frowned. "No. Look at the timestamp. This message was sent only 4 weeks ago." "That's impossible," said Kate Young, the science officer. She pushed her glasses up her nose. "Nothing can travel faster than light except our new drive." Eliza finished for her. The Northern Star carried the first working faster-than-light engine humans had ever built. It was still being tested. It wasn't supposed to leave Earth's solar system yet. "If the message somehow traveled through subspace like our drive does," Kate said slowly, "then these aliens might have similar technology. They might be friendly. Or they might not be," said Joe Garcia, the security chief. His hand moved to the gun at his hip. "We should report this to Earth Command." Eliza stood up, her mind made up. "We will, but we're also going to help. Plot a course to Epsilon Tauri, Sam. Kate, get the drive ready. We leave in 1 hour." "Captain," Kate said, her voice shaking a little, "this will be the first human contact with aliens. Are you sure we should go alone?" Eliza looked at the message playing again on the screen. She heard the fear in the alien voice. "They asked for help," she said simply. "We can help. What kind of humans would we be if we ignored that?" The crew moved quickly to their stations. The Northern Star hummed as the drive powered up. None of them knew that they were about to shock an entire galaxy. None of them knew that in the Galactic Confederation, humans were considered a myth, a scary story told to young aliens. And none of them knew what their arrival would mean for the future of all species. The Northern Star jumped into faster-than-light travel with a flash of blue light. Inside the ship, the crew felt only a slight push, like an elevator starting to move. Captain Eliza Washington unbuckled her safety belt and stood up. 7 days to Epsilon Tauri, she said. Let's use this time well. The crew began preparing for their arrival. They knew nothing about the aliens who had sent the distress call. They didn't know if they could breathe the same air or eat the same food. They didn't know if the aliens would welcome help or see humans as a threat. Kate Young, the science officer, spent hours studying the message. "The language pattern is strange," she told the captain. "It's like they translated their words into something we could understand. That means they must know about us somehow." In the ship's gym, Joe Garcia trained the security team. "We go in friendly," he said as they practiced with stun guns. "But we stay ready for trouble. Remember your training." Sam Burton worked in communications, trying to come up with ways to talk to the aliens. He created simple picture messages showing humans helping with rescue work. Down in engineering, Ben Lewis watched the new drive closely. The faster-than-light engine glowed with soft green light. It wasn't supposed to run this long without a break. "Hold together," he whispered to the machine. "Just a little longer." Meanwhile, across the stars, the Galactic Confederation relief fleet had arrived at Epsilon Tauri 7. 10 large ships hung in orbit around the troubled planet. Smaller ships ferried up scared miners from the surface. In the main Confederation ship, Commander Zix Kalen received bad news. He was tall and thin with skin like tree bark and 3 eyes set in a triangle. "The planet core is becoming unstable," reported the science officer, a round being who floated in a special gas tank. "We have 20 days before total collapse." Zix Kellen's 3 eyes blinked one after another. "Speed up the evacuation. Get everyone off the surface in 10 days. "Yes, Commander," said his assistant. "Also, long-range sensors show something strange. There is a disturbance in space about 3 light days away. It's moving toward us very fast." "Show me," ordered Zix Kellen. The screen lit up with a swirling pattern of light. The commander had never seen anything like it. "What is that?" "Unknown, sir. But whatever it is, it's traveling faster than any ship we have." Zix Kalen felt the small hairs on his back rise in alarm. In 300 years of space travel, he had never encountered something he couldn't identify. "Alert all ships. Raise shields. Prepare weapons, but do not fire unless I give the order." As the Confederation fleet prepared for possible danger, life continued on board the Northern Star. The humans were excited but nervous about their mission. In her private cabin, Captain Washington looked at old pictures of her family back on Earth. Her husband and daughter smiled from the screen. She wondered what they would think about her decision to answer the alien call for help. "I hope I'm doing the right thing," she whispered. There was a knock on her door. It was Kate, the science officer. "Captain, I've been thinking," Kate said. "If these aliens have faster-than-light communication, but sent out a general distress call instead of contacting specific allies, maybe they're alone out there. Maybe they don't have friends to call for help." Belisa nodded slowly. "All the more reason for us to go. Everyone deserves help when they need it." What neither the humans nor the Confederation knew was that their meeting would change the course of galactic history forever. Old beliefs would be challenged. New alliances would form. And the word human would soon be spoken with both fear and respect throughout the stars. The Northern Star raced toward its destination, leaving a trail in space that no Confederation scientist could explain. On the 7th day, alarms blared throughout the Confederation fleet. The strange object in space was about to arrive. "1 minute to contact," said a nervous officer on the bridge of the main ship. Commander Zix Kalen stood tall, his 3 eyes fixed on the large screen. Around him, his crew watched with a mix of fear and curiosity. The Confederation had met many new species before, but never one that traveled in such a strange way. "Weapons ready but not locked," Zix Kellen ordered. "Let us see what comes before we decide if it is a threat." The space in front of the fleet suddenly twisted. A flash of blue light burst out, so bright that the screen had to dim to protect the crew's eyes. When the light faded, a small ship hung in space before them. The bridge fell silent. The alien ship was tiny compared to the Confederation vessels. It looked rough and patched together, with visible repair marks on its hull. Yet it had just done something their best scientists had said was impossible. "It's so small," whispered one of the officers. "Size does not equal strength," Zix reminded them. "Many deadly things in the galaxy are small." Inside the Northern Star, the human crew felt the jump end with a gentle bump. Captain Eliza Washington looked out the main window and saw the fleet of massive ships waiting for them. "Oh my," she said softly. "It seems we found more than just a mining colony." The ships facing them were huge, some as large as small moons. They had smooth, perfect hulls that shimmered with strange colors. Next to them, the Northern Star looked like a child's toy. "They're scanning us," said Sam from communications. "And I think they're trying to talk to us. I'm getting signals on multiple frequencies." "Put it on speaker," Eliza ordered. A series of clicks, whistles, and deep humming sounds filled the bridge. The humans looked at each other in confusion. "Let me try something," said Sam. He pressed buttons on his panel. "I'm sending them our first contact package. Basic math, simple pictures, the universal greeting we prepared." On the Confederation ship, the communications officer jumped in surprise. "Commander, they're responding with math and pictures of bipedal beings helping others stand up from the ground." Zix moved closer. "They're trying to tell us they've come to help." "Interesting." He paused. "Send them our first contact language package. Let's see if they can learn to speak with us." Back on the Northern Star, Sam's computer began filling with strange symbols. "Captain, they're sending us what looks like a language lesson. Very basic stuff. Nouns, verbs, simple sentence structures." Kate clapped her hands in excitement. "This is amazing. They must have dealt with new species before. They know exactly how to establish communication." "How long to learn enough for basic conversation?" Eliza asked. "With the ship's computer helping. Maybe an hour for simple phrases." Eliza nodded. "Get started. Joe, keep the ship at ready status, but no weapons visible. We want to appear friendly, but not foolish." An hour later, both sides had learned enough to attempt real communication. The Northern Star sent its first message in the Confederation's common language. "We are humans from planet Earth. We receive your distress call. We have come to help. We are peaceful." In the Confederation ship, the message caused an uproar. Officers turned to each other with shocked expressions. Some backed away from their stations, as if the screens had suddenly become dangerous. "Did they say humans?" one officer asked with a trembling voice. Zix felt his 3 hearts beat faster. "Impossible. Humans are just old stories to frighten children. They can't be real." But the small patched ship hanging in space before them told a different story. After centuries of believing humans were just myths, the Confederation was about to meet the most feared species in all the old legends. The meeting room on the main Confederation ship was large and round. Strange lights glowed from the ceiling, making the air look misty. 5 members of the Northern Star crew sat at one side of a long table. Across from them sat 6 different alien species, each stranger than the last. Commander Zix spoke first. "We welcome you to Confederation space, though your arrival is unexpected." His translator made his clicking speech sound like English. "How did you receive our distress signal?" "It was on a secure frequency." Captain Eliza leaned forward. "It wasn't secure to us. We picked it up on our quantum receiver. When people ask for help, we come. That's what humans do." The aliens whispered among themselves. A small blue creature with huge eyes spoke up. "You said you are from Earth, the 3rd planet of the yellow star in Sector 2814. "That's right," said Kate, the science officer. "How do you know about Earth?" The aliens looked at each other again. A tall being made of what looked like glass crystals answered, its voice like bells. "There are old stories, very old, about a species that lives on a death world, a place of high gravity, extreme weather, and deadly radiation. A place where life should not exist, but does." Joe Garcia, The security chief smiled a little. Sounds like home. The blue alien continued. The stories say these creatures, these humans, are nearly impossible to kill. They breathe poison that would kill most species. They drink acid for pleasure. They can regrow lost body parts and survive terrible injuries. The humans tried not to laugh. Kate adjusted her glasses. That's a bit exaggerated. We do breathe oxygen, which is toxic to some life forms. And some of our drinks are acidic, like orange juice, but we can't regrow limbs. Yet the rest is partly true. Ben Lewis said from beside her, Earth does have stronger gravity than most life-supporting planets. Our weather can be extreme. And we have evolved to handle radiation from our sun. Commander Zix Kellen's 3 eyes blinked in sequence. The stories also say humans fight wars among themselves. Constant wars, for thousands of years. The human crew fell silent for a moment. Then Eliza nodded. That part is true. Our history has much violence. But we learn from it. We grow. The Northern Star isn't a warship. It's an explorer and a rescuer. Which brings us to why we are all here, said a round alien floating in a tank of bubbling liquid. The mining colony is in grave danger. The planet is breaking apart. Sam Burton, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. We saw the readings on our way in. It looks like something is eating the planet from the inside. The alien stared at him in surprise. Zix Kellen leaned forward. You determined it from space, without landing. It's pretty obvious if you know what to look for, Sam said with a shrug. The pattern of the quakes, the energy readings. Something is down there, and it's hungry. We call them void parasites, the crystal alien said. They infest planets and consume them from the core outward. We have lost 17 worlds to them in our history. What's your plan? Asked Eliza. We evacuate everyone, then destroy the planet with our fleet weapons, Zix Kellen said simply. It is the only way to stop the parasites from spreading. The humans looked shocked. Ben Lewis, the engineer, stood up suddenly. Destroy a whole planet. There must be another way. There is not, Zix Kellen said firmly. In 3 centuries of fighting these parasites, we have found no other solution. The humans exchanged glances. Then Eliza smiled slightly. 3 centuries isn't that long. On Earth, we have a saying. Humans can solve any problem if they have enough time and coffee. Coffee? Asked the blue alien. A drink made from roasted seeds. It helps us think, Kate explained. And Captain Washington is right. We're pretty good at solving problems that seem impossible. The Confederation representatives didn't know what to make of this. No species they had ever met would consider challenging the void parasites directly. Yet these humans, barely out of their own solar system, seemed eager to try. The meeting ended with no clear plan. The Confederation leaders needed time to think about the humans' offer to help. As the human crew returned to their ship, the aliens watched them with new eyes. Back on the Northern Star, the team gathered in the small meeting room. Holograms of the planet filled the air above the table, showing the spread of the void parasites inside. They really are like parasites, Kate said, zooming in on a cluster of strange energy readings. They feed on the planet's core energy. Once they eat enough, they release spores that travel through space to find new planets. And the Confederation's only solution is to blow up the whole planet. Joe shook his head. Seems extreme. Ben Lewis had been quiet, staring at the hologram with narrowed eyes. Now he spoke up. I think I have an idea. The others turned to him. These parasites are basically eating energy, right? What if we give them too much at once? Like overfeeding them until they get sick? Sam asked. More like overfeeding them until they explode, Ben said. We could modify our ship's drive to deliver a massive energy pulse directly to their main cluster. It would be like giving a person 100 cups of coffee at once. Captain Eliza leaned forward. Would that work? Kate adjusted her glasses, thinking. Maybe. The parasites evolved to handle the slow energy from a planet's core. A sudden massive burst might overwhelm them. There's just one problem, Ben said. Someone would need to take a pod down to the planet's core to deliver the pulse. It would be extremely dangerous. You mean suicide? Joe said flatly. Ben didn't answer right away. Then he nodded slowly. Probably. Silence fell over the room. Captain Eliza stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the massive Confederation ships looked like floating cities. We need to think about this carefully, she finally said. I want options that don't involve sacrifice. Just then, Sam's console beeped. Captain, we're getting a message from Commander Zixcalen. They want us to join them on the planet's surface. They'd found something they want us to see. 2 hours later, a small landing party from the Northern Star stood on the shaking ground of Epsilon Tauri 7. The air was breathable but thin. Strange plants with purple leaves swayed in the hot breeze. Commander Zixcalen led them to a large pit in the ground. The edges were smooth, as if melted. This appeared 3 days ago, he explained. It leads straight down toward the parasite's main cluster. Kate knelt by the edge, scanning with her handheld device. This is interesting. The parasites seem to be communicating somehow, sending signals up through this tunnel. Communicating with what? Eliza asked. Unknown, said the crystal alien who had joined them. We thought perhaps with your fresh perspective, you might see something we have missed. Ben stepped forward, his engineer's mind working. May I? He asked, holding up his own scanner. The aliens nodded. He spent several minutes taking readings, walking around the pit's edge. The ground shook beneath them several times, causing small rocks to fall into the darkness below. I think. Ben began, then stopped. This isn't natural. The edges are too perfect. It's like they dug this tunnel deliberately. The parasites are not intelligent, Zixcalen said firmly. They are simple organisms that consume energy. Simple organisms can still show complex behaviors, Kate argued, like ants building huge colonies. Joe had been keeping watch, his hand near his weapon. Now he pointed to the sky. Sorry to interrupt, but what's that? They all looked up. A strange dark shape was moving through the clouds. It wasn't a ship. It looked more like a giant flying creature with multiple wings. We need to leave. Now, Commander Zixcalen said, his voice suddenly urgent. The mature parasites are beginning to emerge. The planet is in its final stage before collapse. As they rushed back to their ships, the humans exchanged worried glances. The situation was worse than they thought. They now had hours, not days, to save the planet, or at least to escape before it was destroyed. Back on the Confederation command ship, emergency alarms rang through every corridor. Officers rushed to their stations, the large meeting room filled with representatives from all ships in the fleet. The situation has become critical, Commander Zixcalen announced. We must begin final evacuation now and prepare to destroy the planet. Captain Eliza and her crew stood to one side, watching the aliens argue about the best way to proceed. Finally, she stepped forward. Commander, we'd like to try our plan before you destroy the planet. The room fell silent. All eyes turned to the humans. What plan? Zixcalen asked. Then Lewis stepped forward with a small device in his hand. We've designed an energy pulse generator. It would deliver a massive energy shock directly to the parasite's main cluster. We believe it might overload their systems, Kate added, like feeding them too much, too fast. The crystal alien moved closer, light reflecting off its many surfaces. In 3 centuries, we have tried energy weapons against the parasites many times. They simply absorb the energy and grow stronger. Not like this, Ben said. This isn't a weapon. It's based on our faster-than-light drive technology. It creates a controlled tear in space-time, releasing enormous energy. The parasites would try to feed on it, but it would be too much, too fast. The alien leaders whispered among themselves. Some sounded angry, others curious. Zix Kalen raised his hand for silence. How would you deliver this device to the core? No ship can survive those depths. We've modified one of our landing pods, Joe Garcia said. It's small, tough, and can handle extreme conditions. And who would pilot this pod? Asked the blue alien. It would be a one-way trip. Before any of the humans could answer, a new voice spoke from the doorway. I will. Everyone turned. A young Confederation officer stood there. She was from a species the humans hadn't seen before, with pale green skin and 4 arms. Lyra, Zix Kalen said. What are you doing? My family lived on Talax 4, she said quietly. The 8th planet lost to these parasites. I volunteered to pilot the human device. Captain Eliza shook her head. We can't ask you to sacrifice yourself. You're not asking. I'm offering, Lyra said. Besides, I've studied the parasites for years. I know how they move, how they think. I can get the device to the right spot. The human crew exchanged glances. Then Ben stepped forward. Actually, nobody needs to die today. He held up his device. I've made some changes. The pod can be programmed to reach the target zone, deploy the device, and return to a safe distance before detonation. Is that possible? Zix Kalen asked, 3 eyes wide with surprise. Maybe, Ben said honestly. It's risky. The pod would need to outrun the energy wave. But it has a chance. I'll still pilot it, Lyra insisted. I can make adjustments if needed. The automated system might not react properly to changing conditions. For a moment, nobody spoke. Then Captain Eliza reached out her hand to Lyra. Partners, then. Our technology, your knowledge. Lyra hesitated, then took the human's hand with one of her 4. Partners. Commander Zix Kalen seemed troubled. This plan is untested, dangerous. So is blowing up an entire planet. Captain Eliza replied. At least our way gives this world a chance to survive. The commander looked around at his officers, then at the screen showing the worsening situation on the planet. Finally, he nodded. You have 4 hours to prepare. If your plan fails, we proceed with planetary destruction immediately. As the meeting ended, the humans and Lyra hurried to prepare the pod and the device. Behind them, the Confederation leaders watched with a mixture of doubt and something new, a feeling many of them had never experienced before. Hope. The modified pod sat ready in the launch bay of the Northern Star. It was small, barely big enough for one person, with thick walls and special shields. Ben had worked non-stop for 3 hours, adding parts from the ship's drive to the energy pulse device. It's ready, he said, wiping sweat from his face. The pulse will create a small tear in space-time, just for a fraction of a second. The energy release should be enough to overload the parasites. Lyra stood nearby, studying the pod's controls. As a Confederation officer, she was used to much more advanced technology, but she had learned the human systems quickly. The timing must be perfect, she said. Too early, and the parasites will adapt. Too late, and the planet's core will already be too damaged. Outside the ship, the situation was getting worse. 3 more flying parasites had emerged from the planet. The Confederation ships had destroyed 2 of them, but the 3rd had escaped into space. Every hour, the ground shakes grew stronger. In the small briefing room, Captain Eliza met with Commander Zix Kalen. We're almost ready, she told him. Lyra will launch in 30 minutes. The alien commander looked troubled. I must tell you something, Captain. The stories about humans, they are not just children's tales. They are warnings. Eliza frowned. Warnings. Yes. Long ago, before the Confederation formed, our oldest member species encountered beings they believed were humans. The meeting did not go well. The humans were violent, unpredictable. Many died on both sides. That's hard to believe, Eliza said. We've never met aliens before now. Perhaps they were not your humans, Zix Kalen said. Or perhaps they were your ancestors, from a forgotten time. But the fear remained. passed down through generations. When your ship arrived, many of my officers wanted to attack immediately. But you didn't, Eliza noted. No, because despite the old fears, you came to help. You heard a call for help from strangers and traveled across space to answer it. That is not common in our galaxy. Their conversation was interrupted by Sam rushing in. Captain, Commander, the parasites, they're all moving toward the center tunnel. Something's happening. They hurried to the bridge just as a huge tremor shook the ship. On the main screen, they could see the planet's surface cracking open in new places. Launch the pod now, ordered Captain Eliza. We're out of time. In the launch bay, Lyra climbed into the small pod. Joe Garcia helped her strap in. Remember, he said, the autopilot will take you down. Deploy the device at the marked point, then get out fast. You'll have 90 seconds before detonation. Lyra nodded, her four hands moving quickly over the controls. I understand. Thank you all for this chance. The pod's door closed. A moment later, it shot out from the northern star, racing toward the planet below. Everyone watched the small craft disappear into the atmosphere. On screen, they could track its progress as it dove toward the main tunnel the parasites had created. She's going in, Kate said, watching the signals. Approaching the target zone. The minutes that followed were the longest of their lives. The pod's signal grew weaker as it went deeper. Communications became broken and static-filled. Almost there, came Lyra's voice through the noise. Parasites everywhere, moving strangely. Then the signal died completely. What happened? Commander Zix Kalen demanded. Ben checked his instruments. She's too deep for communications now. All we can do is wait. The screen showed the planet continuing to break apart. Large cracks spread across entire continents. The Confederation ships moved to a safer distance, but the Northern Star stayed close, waiting. Come on, Lyra, Captain Eliza whispered. Come back to us. Then, without warning, a bright light flashed from deep within the planet. The energy readings spiked off the charts. The entire planet seemed to glow from within. Energy pulse deployed, Ben shouted. It worked. But the celebration died quickly. There was still no sign of Lyra's pod returning. 3 days later, the Northern Star floated beside the Confederation command ship. Through the windows, the crew could see the planet below. It was still there, still whole. The cracks had stopped spreading. The ground no longer shook. The energy pulse had worked better than anyone had expected. But there was still no sign of Lyra or her pod. In the main meeting room, humans and aliens gathered again. The mood was mixed. Joy at saving the planet, sadness at the cost. The parasites are gone, Commander Zix Kalen announced. Our scans show no trace of them anywhere in the planet's core. For the first time in our history, we have defeated them without destroying the world they infested. Captain Eliza nodded, but her eyes were sad. I wish Lyra could be here to see it. Just then, Sam Burton rushed into the room. Captain, Commander, we're picking up a signal from the surface. Everyone froze. Zix Kalen's 3 eyes blinked rapidly. What kind of signal? It's from the pod. It's weak, but it's definitely our emergency beacon. The room erupted in activity. Within minutes, a rescue team was assembled. The Northern Star launched its second landing craft, with Joe Garcia at the controls. 3 Confederation ships sent their own rescue craft. The pod signal came from a region far from the main tunnel, near the edge of a small ocean. As Joe's craft descended through the clouds, he saw a shining object on a rocky beach. I see it, he called back to the ships. The pod made it out. The rescue team landed and rushed to the damaged craft. Its sides were melted and bent. The door was jammed shut. It took 4 people to force it open. Inside, barely conscious but alive, was Lyra. Her green skin was pale, and one of her 4 arms was injured, but she was breathing. Did it work? Were her first words when they woke her. Is the planet safe? It worked, Joe told her with a smile. You did it. The parasites are gone. Lyra closed her eyes, tears running down her face. My family can rest now. Back on the ships, doctors from both the human crew and the Confederation worked together to heal Lyra. She told them how the pod's autopilot had malfunctioned in the intense heat near the core. She had to fly manually, deploying the device and then fighting to escape as the energy wave chased her through the tunnels. The parasites tried to stop me, she said. They're smarter than we thought. But the pod was faster, thanks to the human engines. A week later, the leaders of the Confederation called for a special meeting. Ships from across the galaxy arrived, curious about the species that had changed everything. In the largest hall on the command ship, Captain Eliza Washington and her crew stood before thousands of alien representatives. Commander Zix Kalen spoke to the crowd. For centuries, we feared the humans of legend. We told stories of their strength, their violence, their strange ways. We warned our children to beware of them. He paused, looking at the 5 humans. But we forgot the most important part of those old stories. The humans were protectors. They fought fiercely, yes, but they fought for others, not just themselves. He turned to face the crowd again. Today, we offer the humans of Earth full membership in the Galactic Confederation, and we offer something else, our friendship. The hall erupted in cheers and strange sounds that the human translators couldn't quite catch. It seemed that not everyone agreed with the commander's decision, but most did. Captain Eliza stepped forward. We accept your friendship. Earth has much to learn from the Confederation, and perhaps we have some things to teach as well. As the ceremony continued, Sam Burton leaned close to Kate Young. Do you think they'll ever be ready to meet the rest of humanity? We're just one small ship. Wait until they see our whole planet. Kate smiled as she watched the aliens celebrating around them. I think the galaxy will never be the same again. And that's probably a good thing. In the far corner of the hall, Lyra watched with her 4 arms crossed over her chest. She had seen humans at their best. Brave, clever, and kind. The legends were true, but not in the way her people had feared. The distress signal had been answered, and the answer had changed everything.